Welcome to Industry Gossip. My name is Manish Kata, and with me I have the Real Housewife of California, Christopher Norton. What's happening, sir?
All right, to get us started, Capital Group has launched new ETFs, but without the American fund's name. Underrated or overrated?
I think it's underrated news. More and more you're going to see mutual fund companies switch over to the ETF format. It's better for taxable investors, and they're going to roll this out over time. I think the thing that people need to keep in mind is that for 401ks, 403bs, ETFs are not possible. And so that's going to still keep a drag on the conversions. I think what's interesting is they released it under a new name, obviously probably to not cannibalize on their own business, which I understand. Something that we're looking into as well with our funds, possible converting it down the line to ETFs. Once again, the biggest issue that you're going to see in the industry are those 401k and 403b accounts. Now, if that switches over and they allow ETFs in those type of registrations, then I think it's going to be open season and probably nail in the coffin for mutual funds.
So RIA Biz published an article titled, epically long, "The 2021 RIA Event Comeback Collapses as FPA, Invest in Others, and T3 cancel in-person events, but WealthStack, Riskalyze, and Salt won't be deterred." Underrated or overrated?
I think this news is underrated. I've been on record, and I'll continue to go on record, that people who are throwing conferences in this type of environment are being totally irresponsible. Not to mention, forget about COVID for a second, the travel experience as it is right now with airlines and restaurants and service experience across the board. You are not only asking your clients or advisors to fly across the country, experience horrible travel experiences, and then on top of that, possibly have COVID exposure. And so, listen, they're going on right now. As we're recording, there's a big conference going on, and some people are drawing the line in the sand and continuing to launch these conferences. You know, to each their own, whatever. We shut down travel for the rest of the year. I think it's irresponsible, but, you know, if maybe they'll prove us right and do it in a safe manner.
Don't be a Richard, get vaccinated. On August 27th, frenemy of the firm Johnny Sandquist tweeted, I quote, "Is there a reason for continuing to host live webinars instead of just recording a video with the same content and offering it on demand?" End quote. Overrated or underrated?
Okay, well, properly rated, I don't understand. I'm going to toss this back to you because I never understood why anyone would do live webinars anymore. Like, who takes the time out of their day to sign up and put it on the calendar to join when you can just watch the video when you please?
People have made the points that, number one, it's valuable to have something on people's calendar. They're more likely to engage. Number two, that the interactive element to it takes it to an ability above a video. In 11 years of marketing in this industry, I have seen that to not be the case. People don't show up, people forget, nobody asks questions except the ones you plant ahead of time. The small occasional engagement that you may get from time to time isn't worth the effort that it takes to put into it. Give people the content, let them engage with it at their leisure, and then when they're ready, they can reach out to you. And if you're good at being available to people, that's not going to be a problem.
I should have asked you the question.
Next time. Okay, it is time once again for my favorite segment on this show.
Acquisition Watch.
Or is it? Riskalyze sells majority interest to private equity firm HG Capital. Underrated or overrated?
I think the news itself is overrated. There's been tons of money flying around the industry, and so having another deal like this is no big deal. What happened here, and this has been flying around Twitter, including ourselves and Riskalyze and other people, is the term recapitalization, where basically they took assets in. Now look, you can look at this two ways, right? The first way is to pay out early investors who have been there for 10, 15 years. You have to find a way to get them to get paid out. The second part of this is you use that when you're burning cash. and you need an influx or an infusion of capital in order to operate going forward. So who knows where we stand here. I think it's good that the CEO actually rolled a lot of his shares into it, and it shows that he's still on board with the future of the company. And look, let's not get it twisted. They're a great company when it comes to branding and marketing. The software's phenomenal. They have 85% market share. I think they'll end up doing okay. It was just interesting use of terms here, whether it was an acquisition or not.
As a marketing guy, I have no issue with taking marketing opportunities on news. I just go back to our mantra of be transparent. You don't have to make up words. You called more attention to it by doing that than if you had just been straightforward, because people would have seen the news, gone, good for you, and moved on, and instead it became a thing when it didn't need to.
Correct.
Okay, last one for this week. Redtail and Snappy Kraken announce text messaging services. Underrated or overrated?
This is overrated. I mean, listen, if any professional, a service professional by that, texts me, that'll be the last time I ever talk to them. I mean, text messaging, first of all, I think most millennials and even older millennials have moved on from text messages in general, right? No one really texts anymore anyway. And to have a company come in and start doing that, now I can understand maybe if it's an update that's critical to you, something for your account, an RMD or whatever it is, I can see some value. But if it's just straight up marketing, that is the most annoying and spammy way to get a hold of a client, is to send out text messages. So I guess kudos for them for pushing something forward that's not just your standard communication tool. I just think it's going to fall on deaf ears, in my opinion.
Sorry, I was just texting with my Range Rover. That'll do it for this episode of Industry Gossip. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we'll see you back next month.
Thank you.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Clients of Potomac Fund Management may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast.